We need to make sure that Bridgeport's youth have these experiences and a piece of nature close to home.
I am a member of Preserve Remington Woods. I want to explain how Preserve Remington Woods benefits the city of Bridgeport and the world at large. Remington Woods is an over 400-acre forest located on the Bridgeport-Stratford border. Remington Woods contains a 23-acre lake, meadows, and wetlands. It is home to thousands and thousands of trees, 70 species of birds, including bald eagles, and a multitude of wildlife such as deer, fox, raccoons, and box turtles. The trees of the forest sequester carbon and emit oxygen. This mitigates climate change and asthma rates. The trees of the woods help prevent flooding and cool the air in the summer. Bridgeport's master plan states, Bridgeport values nature. A couple of the plan's priority is rehabbing abandoned buildings downtown and developing the waterfront. Yet the latest Bridgeport zoning map has Remington Woods zoned for industry. Knocking down the last urban forest is not valuing nature. Over 23% of office space is vacant or abandoned in Fairfield County. There are also a lot of vacant industrial buildings, especially on Barnum Avenue. These buildings should be rehabbed and utilized instead of destroying and killing the vibrant living community of wildlife, birds, plants, and trees, which is Remington Woods. A spin-off of DuPont Dow, the Corteva Corporation now owns Remington Woods and could start knocking it down as early as the end of this year, 2020. Corteva Corporation produces chemicals which are killing our vitally necessary pollinating bees, killing wildlife, and causing cancer in humans. Do your part to help mitigate climate change and asthma rates. Prove that you value nature. Preserve Remington Woods. You could do this by not giving any permits or approval to permits to corporations that are going to destroy the woods. Preserve Remington Woods. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations on your election. I'm a taxpayer. I'm with Preserve Remington Woods. I was born and raised in Bridgeport, and like you, I want to do what's best for the city. The coming year will hold both challenges and opportunities. Environmental considerations will become increasingly important. The destruction of the life of the planet, the only life we know of in the universe, is raging. Our oceans are heating from climate change at a rate of 5 nuclear bombs exploding every second. Bridgeport is predicted to be partly underwater. That means environmental refugees. Our food and other necessities will be unavailable because the transportation that brings it here is along the coast and subject to flooding. Many cities and countries worldwide are planting forests to restore nature as part of the solution. Please don't let Bridgeport destroy this existing living forest community and become part of the problem. We will have the opportunity to step up and take our place among enlightened cities worldwide by preserving Remington Woods in its entirety. Destroying any part of Remington Woods would destroy the whole. The infrastructure, disruption, and danger would destroy biodiversity. The forest is not an object. It is a living organism, like our bodies. What 25% of one's body would it be okay to give up? All wildlife worldwide are in peril. Their numbers plummeting, not only the endangered species. As a girl, I remember the skies filled with birds, not anymore. The #1 outdoor activity in the country is wildlife watching. In talking to Bridgeporters, they enthusiastically want to preserve it. People cannot survive without nature. People need nature, and nature needs a place. In Bridgeport, that place is Remington Woods. Our culture does not value nature when we label Remington Woods as vacant on a zoning map, when actually it is a vibrant living forest community with 70 species of birds that is not only able to perpetuate its own life, but also greatly contributes to the surrounding community with the life-supporting services it provides to us. Remington Woods needs to be preserved in its entirety as a wildlife preserve with walking paths, an oasis for wildlife and humans alike, from local to global, preserved for the well-being of the living community of life. My hope is that the coming year, Bridgeport can honor its goal to value nature by preserving this precious natural treasure and leave a legacy of life. Thank you.
Okay, I am Dr. J.D. Smith. I am a Bridgeport resident with Preserve Remington Woods. Remington Woods is threatened with destruction by Corteva, a Dow DuPont spinoff. They make chemicals that cause cancer, kill birds, bees, fish, produce brain damage in children and fetuses. They will be the ones making decisions as to what goes in the woods. Destroying nature has a terrible cost, but it never makes it to the ledger books. Forest provides crucial life support services 24/7 for free to people, wildlife, and the larger community. Environment holds carbon, helps control global heating, habitat and food for wildlife, protects from floods, cools air, calms winds, reduces severity of storms, lowers energy use, saves money, cleans water, mitigates drought, aids soil fertility and erosion control. Social offers profound experience of living nature, is what we need to reconnect with nature. Reduces crime and violence. Crime rates rise when air pollution rises. Air pollution causes people to have lower test scores that can affect their future opportunities. Enhances the view, reduces noise, raises property values. Health. The forest impacts on health are profound. Illness would increase if the woods was destroyed. Forest aids physical and mental health, reduces illness, increases concentration, gives off oxygen, which we need to breathe. The largest environmental health risk in the U.S. is air pollution. Fairfield County has some of the worst air pollution in the USA. Air pollution can cause developmental and reproductive harm, respiratory, lung disease, asthma, cardiovascular, heart attacks, susceptibility to infection. It can trigger strokes and cause premature death. Air pollution is a serious threat to our health and safety. Bridgeport deserves clean air. Forest cleans the air. Trees significantly reduce air pollution. They absorb and break down all the major air pollutants: ground level, ozone, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide. They exhale life-giving oxygen. One tree produces enough oxygen in a season for 10 people to breathe for a year. They absorb CO2, a major contributor to climate crisis. The U.S. Forest Service found that for every dollar spent in planting trees, delivers $5.82 in public benefits. It would be a tragic loss to destroy this woods and deprive Bridgeport of its crucial life support services. Preserve Remington Woods in its entirety as a wildlife refuge and an urban oasis. We can leave a legacy of life for a healthy community. Thank you.
Next speaker is Ms. Deolinda Ruas. Deolinda Ruas, will you please state your name and for the record you can speak.
Good evening. My name is Deolinda Ruas, and I live in Bridgeport.
Talking to the mic.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Good evening, my members of the City Council. My name is Deolinda Ruas. I've lived in Bridgeport most of my life. I've come tonight to speak about why I think it's important to preserve Remington Woods. Thank you for your time. I'm going to speak from a personal viewpoint, for as a child, I got to play in Remington Woods. I was born in Bridgeport to a big extended family and spent a great deal of my early life in the east side of Bridgeport, down the street from Washington Park, playing with family and friends, going to school, etc. Around 6 and a half, my life changed. My parents split up, so now I was going from one place to the next, the east side. And soon after, my father had a stroke. Then my cousins moved. It's not easy when things are different or get harder, but you do what you do to survive and hope things get better. Then an amazing thing happened. I would go to visit my cousins. They moved to a new neighborhood. One day they told me, come play at the end of the street. Well, at the end of the street, there was a fence with a hole in it, and the kids would go into the woods to play. Well, I had seen trees. I had been to Bearsley Seaside and Washington Park, all great places, but this place was different. It was amazing. It was the first time I had seen trees and grass growing for what seemed like miles, animals running free, not behind bars, and most amazing for a city kid like me, it was quiet, peaceful. No sirens, no cars. I could think. I learned a lot there. I learned that there were other beings and things outside of myself that deserved respect. I learned to think outside of myself and dream in peace and reach for those dreams. And little by little, I did. And I learned to respect myself. I graduated third in my high school class, graduated college, and many other things, including being part of international conferences. Not bad for a little girl from a broken home in the East Side. All because I got to experience the woods. I will always have the woods. I would like the opportunity to continue for each generation and for the woods itself. In a time when we are constantly tearing things down, it would be nice for everyone and everything that can benefit for and in Remington Woods and the woods itself. Please help preserve Remington Woods.
Good evening. I'm Eric Karenko, and I'm also here to speak up to preserve Remington Woods. In particular, I want to speak about environmental racism and how preserving Remington Woods is an important part of undoing these injustices. I grew up in a town like many in Connecticut that had nature preserves for the town's residents to enjoy. The experiences of exploring, connecting with, and learning from nature were incredibly valuable to me. I learned the importance of nature, of living in harmony with it. I got to enjoy nature often as a child, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. If the people here want to go and experience and enjoy nature, to get away from the sounds of the city and to hear the wind blow through the trees, we couldn't do that in Bridgeport. We would have to go to another town. This is not an accident. As in so many other ways, Bridgeport has gotten the short end of the stick because this is a city that is poorer and less white than those towns, like the one I grew up in, that are allowed to value the nature that they have been graced with. Environmental racism can be seen in this difference and others, like the asthma rates and the air and water quality. Disenfranchised communities are and have been the most affected by pollution and are usually the last who are helped to deal with it. These differences do not need to continue, and preserving Remington Woods can be an important step for Bridgeport to fix them. Imagine if the children of the city could have those same opportunities that I did, to have that very fundamental human experience of communing with nature. Imagine the looks on those kids' faces seeing flocks of migrating birds landing along Success Lake, frogs hopping along the shore, and watching all sorts of other animals living in the woods. This experience is more important now than before because of the challenge of climate change. Confronting this challenge requires a deep respect for nature, and it is difficult for children to learn to respect something that they don't have the opportunity to experience. We need to make sure that Bridgeport's youth have these experiences and a piece of nature close to home for them to connect to. They need this so that they can be better prepared to stand up for themselves against environmental racism. They need this to stand up for a healthy planet to live on. If we preserve Remington Woods in its entirety, if we value the last bit of nature left for Bridgeport, then we will not just be doing the right thing for nature, we will be doing the right thing for the people of our city and their future. Thank you very much. Good evening.
The next speaker for the evening is Ms. Wanda Simmons. Is Ms. Simmons with us this evening?
Wanda Simmons, live at 145 Woodsville Avenue. Just want to speak Remington Woods. I had the pleasure of meeting this organization about a week ago, I think it was. And I sat in on their meeting and just listened to what they were really advocating about. And I totally agree that Remington Woods is a gem in Bridgeport that is underutilized. I was born and raised in Stamford, Connecticut. I had wildlife. Our children in Bridgeport deserve wildlife. It's serene. It can also help with mental illness, a lot of their behavioral issues. Because it is a place that you can go and relax, just listening to the water, hearing the birds chirp, the bees. So I just wanted to say on behalf of them, I'm so glad that I got to connect with this group, and I totally agree with them 100%. Also about the Orchid Boys and Girls Club, we need youth programming in Bridgeport. Orchid is a viable instrument and avenue for our children. It's a safe haven. I volunteered there many nights, food, just to sit around and play with the kids. So hopefully we can put all of our differences aside, all the politics, all the name calling, and we can fund youth programs.
Good evening. My name is Melida Mackenzie Alford. Now, I just heard about this as I was relaxing my mind at Tai Chi this morning, and Madam Ruth had brought it to my attention about the Remington Woods. I was born and raised in Costa Rica, and my pet was an iguana. I used to ride the backs of turtles in the water. Back then, as a child, the turtles are huge anyway. They live over 100 years old. She was telling me about all the birds and box turtles and different things that we have here in Bridgeport. I'm amazed. I'm glad that we still have something left to breathe on. What I would hope that we all understand is that we don't live long here as adults. We have children, and some of them don't know what it is to leave their television or just say, look, I have something else I'd like to do. I took for granted living in Costa Rica. I played with monkeys and dealt with sloth and things like that. To me was nothing. I took it for granted. Now I'm dealing with what you call concrete jungle. I find that we take ourselves away from what's real in life, and what's real in life is just breathing. I think that what we should think about is we have it right here in our backyard. So if we can preserve this for our children, just to take a walk up the street to the woods. Like you have Discovery Museum, we have Discovery Forest here. Go right in and just have them to know something more than just what they see on television. Thank you.